Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you should have something that looks like this. Write your name at the top. This is your copy. And we're doing this for period 4 and 6 today. Okay? So, you should have found your quote in your paper, and you were supposed to highlight it in blue. Now, I want you to take your quote, and you should have, in the do now, figured out what kind of quote was it. Did it look like A, or did it look like B? Now, those of you that have a B quote, you are correct because your quote is explained. So if your quote looks like this one from the color guide example, and you have the introduction to your quote, a comma, and then the quote itself with the page number, that's what I want you to keep doing. However, if your quote looks like this one right here, see how this is one sentence and this is a second sentence? That's what's making him sad. This is called a floating quotation. Quotes should be incorporated. So this period needs to be changed to, I'm sure you know, a comma. So we are going to put in a comma. And then that will make him happy. So that's incorrect. So if you have this, it needs to be changed. This would be the correct version where it says, Ilya was a skilled craftsman with hands like a machine who amazed the narrator with the nimbleness of his fingers. And then we need a period at the end of this, and we should take out the page. Your version doesn't have this. So that is a correct quotation. That's a correctly integrated quote. There's one more example. Here it says, darkened by the gloomiest of trees. This quote shows that the forest is a frightening place. So you and I talked about this, and we said that that period should be replaced with a comma. So we're going to take that out and put in a comma. Or we could also do the forest, darkened by the gloomiest of trees, is a frightening place. So there are two ways of integrating quotations. You can either do it this way, or you can do it this way, because we don't want floating quotations. Okay, now let's look at the rest of this handout. So for number 2, those of you that have a correctly integrated quote, you are here and you're happy, I want you to try and challenge yourselves into paraphrasing. So paraphrasing can be used to clarify the text and to better suit your sentence structure as long as you do not change the meaning. For some of you, you might not know what the word paraphrasing means. In paraphrasing, some of you know, is to put in your own words. If you put it in your own words, that shows that you understand what it's saying. So here are the original lines from a poem. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean flavored and imperially slim. That's the original. The paraphrase, this author put in his own words, says Richard Cory was thin and described as looking like a gentleman from head to toe. So I'm going to make a little chart on the side. Sole would be the equivalent of the word toe. Crown would be the equivalent of head. And the rest of it, like slim and thin, and clean flavored is just he's a gentleman. Not that he's like super yummy. So in paraphrasing, it's showing that you understand what these words mean and that you're able to create a synonym that you understand and that's easy to explain. So that's a good paraphrase. And you should be familiar with this. I know I've told you that you're not supposed to write page in your parentheses. However, when we're talking about poetry, you need to write down the lines. That's okay. So if you have a correct quotation, I want you to challenge yourself by trying to integrate one paraphrased quotation. Okay? Okay. Number 3, 4, and 5 are also challenged. So we're going to go over them very quickly here. Square brackets are helpful when you want to alter a few words of a quotation for clarity or to suit your sentence structure. So the word alter means to change, and sometimes I need to make alterations so that it fits with the rest of my writing. So here, this has been altered for clarity. See how inside the brackets it says with Hibbins? That's to let us know that Hester Prynne claims that she would willingly have gone with Hibbins into the forest instead of just would willingly have gone into the forest. That's pretty vague since we don't know with who, so the obvious thing is just to add the brackets so that we know who she would go into the forest with, just to clarify. The second example has been changed for grammar. Rodriguez says that his education has carried him far. So what it would say would be carried far or carry far, but carry far doesn't make sense, so you add in the carried and a him to know that we're talking about Rodriguez to clarify for the reader. So if you change anything, let's say you want to change was to is, then you would put the is in brackets, and that would make your reader happy so that they can understand your sentence structure or your grammar. Number 4, you will possibly be using for your quote. So if you have a very long quote and you don't need the middle of the quote, then you are going to draw 3 periods, and that is an ellipse, so that you don't end with a really long quotation. Instead, you have only the essential part of the quotation. So you can use an ellipse to show where something has been removed. Okay, and we're focusing on unnecessary words. If you have a really long quote, you're going to want to use an ellipse. Okay, now flip to the back. On the back, there is one other thing that I want you to make sure that you're not doing. This is an ineffective quote. Jenny says to Alice, "You are going out for cheerleading now." This shows that Alice is trying new things now that she has a new body. So this is ineffective because the quote is before the information. We don't understand what's going on in this sentence, so we need to change things. So this is just an okay sentence. Now that Alice has a new, more athletic body, she has the confidence to try new things. This is when Jenny says to her, "You are going out for cheerleading now." That is an okay sentence, but let's look at the most effective sentence, because this makes him super happy. The effective sentence is slightly different than the first two in that it is shorter, the words are specific, and it takes out unnecessary words. The example says, "Now that Alice has a new, more athletic body, she has the confidence to try new things, such as going out for cheerleading." Done. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take 10 minutes to focus on having effective and correct quotations. So if you started out with your quote at the beginning, I want you to flip it so that you have an explanation and then your quote towards the end. That's one way. Another way is to look at number 1 and avoid the floating quotes. So if you have a floating quotation, keep in mind that your quotations don't like to be by themselves. They like to have friends. So you want to provide an explanation and then use the part of the quotation that's appropriate to prove your point. And make sure that your one quotation looks like the sample that you have at your desk, where there is an explanation followed by the quotation and just the number. Do not write page inside the parentheses. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so you have 10 minutes. You may work independently, quietly, and I want you to make sure that any revisions or editing that you do to your essay, you are going to write them into your draft that you are ready to turn in today. You do not have your draft ready to turn in today. In other words, it's not typed, it's not color-coded. Late papers will be losing a point a day. So I want you to come see me. If your paper is late, come see me at Wednesday from 3:30 to 4:30. Okay, Wednesday, and that way Thursday you can turn in your paper. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get you working. Ready, set, go.